You know that moment when you get engaged and everyone expects you to be all sunshine and rainbows? Yeah, well, buckle up. Because my engagement to Luke was, let's just say, more like a calm sea before the tsunami. Luke was decent enough, nice face, good at making pasta, which honestly is a pretty solid combo. Not exactly Prince Charming, but hey, I wasn't about to complain. If a man can whip up a decent spaghetti bolognese, he's already halfway to being husband material. So there I was, happily engaged, floating on my little cloud of finally, someone who isn't a total disaster. I announced it to the family, expecting the usual mix of fake smiles and awkward congratulations. But Amber, my sister, emotional vampire extraordinaire, clapped, loud, like really loud. At first I thought, oh, that's nice. Supportive sister moment. Silly me. Because in hindsight, Amber wasn't clapping for my happiness. Nope. She was mentally measuring up white dresses and probably plotting how to steal my thunder at the wedding. That clap? It wasn't joy. It was the kind of applause you give when you see someone else's crumbs and you're already eyeing the cake. I should have known then. The way she smiled. Too wide, too sharp, like a shark that just smelled blood. But I was too busy being excited about my own love story to notice. Meanwhile, Amber's been lurking in the background like a storm cloud, ready to ruin the forecast. You know the type. The one who supports you with a smile, but is secretly sharpening knives under the table. I kept telling myself, it's fine, she's my sister. She loves me. Probably. Spoiler alert, she loves drama more. And so, the stage was set. Luke and I, blissfully unaware. Amber, simmering with plans that would make even the most twisted soap opera writer blush. Stay tuned, because this is just the start. The calm before the absolute train wreck. If I had £1 for every time Amber said, I'm just helping, I could have bought myself a honeymoon where she wasn't invited. It started small. Innocent, even. Amber offered to pitch in with some wedding planning. Lovely gesture, right? Wrong. She didn't ask, mind you. She just showed up one day with color swatches, 3 notebooks, and a level of excitement usually reserved for people actually getting married. At first I thought, she's excited for me. No, she was excited instead of me. She started calling Luke. A lot. Like suspiciously, a lot. I'd be texting him, and he'd reply hours later because Amber was just running something by me about the seating chart. The seating chart? She wasn't even invited to that level of decision-making. I asked her once, nicely, if she could chill. You know, back off a bit. She blinked at me like I'd just told her Santa wasn't real. But I love weddings, she said. Yeah, yours preferably. She started showing up to my flat uninvited, always with some tragic Pinterest board titled things like Whimsical Forest Elegance or Amber's Dream Wedding. I wish I was joking. My wedding, her vision. She had opinions about everything. My dress? Bit plain. My flowers? Dead looking. My venue? Cute, I guess, if you're into that budget vibe. It got to the point where Luke and I felt like background characters in her fantasy. I was the mildly annoying extra in the Amber show. She even referred to my cake as our cake once. I laughed. She didn't. Concerning. Luke, bless him, kept saying, she's just excited. She'll calm down. Oh, sweet summer child. Amber did not calm down. Amber escalated. Amber was in full production mode. She booked a cake tasting without telling me. Showed up to it with Luke, just the two of them. To my cake tasting. And when I found out, oh, I thought you were busy. Busy doing what, Amber? Planning your own wedding with my fiancé? Honestly, it felt like I was being slowly erased from my own engagement. Like she was the main character now, and I'd been demoted to understudy. No lines, no say. Just stand there and smile while she designed her Pinterest-perfect day with my partner. The worst part, I let it slide. Because I didn't want to be that bride, the dramatic one, the overreacting one. But newsflash. Turns out, sometimes paranoia is just early detection. Because what started as Amber just helping was really Amber rehearsing. Practicing, sneaking in little moments that didn't feel like red flags until they were wrapped around my neck. And me, still smiling, still nodding, still clinging to this idea that it was all in my head. I wasn't just losing control of the wedding. I was quietly being replaced. And trust me, I hadn't even hit the part where it all exploded. That's coming. But for now, let's just call this the episode where the bride starts becoming the guest, and the sister starts acting like the star, the slow ghosting of my relationship. It didn't happen all at once. Not a bang, not a breakup, just a slow, passive-aggressive fade into irrelevance. Like one day, we were planning our future, the cake, the venue, the let's not invite Uncle Tony, he drinks too much list, and the next, I was talking to myself in group chats while Luke responded 3 business days later with a thumbs up. You know that scene in every horror movie where the main character realizes the house is haunted but tries to pretend it's the wind? Yeah, that was me. Except the ghost was my fiancé. Luke went emotionally MIA. Missed calls, dry texts. That vacant stare like I was a stranger trying to sell him double-glazed windows. We'd sit next to each other on the sofa, and he'd physically lean away. Like I was contagious. Like love was now some sort of infection, and he'd forgotten he used to beg for my attention like a puppy on espresso. I asked him, casually, like I wasn't slowly crumbling inside, if something was wrong. He shrugged. If indifference was a sport, he was going for Olympic gold. I'm just tired, he said. Right. Too tired to text me back, but never too tired to pick up Amber's calls. She called a lot. And I mean a lot. Like if minutes were money, she could have bought a small island and renamed it Delusion. I mentioned it once, gently, with 0 accusations. Hey, you've been talking to Amber quite a bit lately. He blinked. She's just helping with the wedding. Of course she is. She's so helpful. Like a termite helping remodel a house. Amber naturally had thoughts. She sat me down like a concerned therapist who charges by the hour but secretly lives for the drama. Luke's just overwhelmed, she said. By what? Commitment? Me? The fact he's planning a wedding with the wrong sister? I didn't say that, of course. I smiled like a hostage and said, yeah, maybe. Because apparently that's what I do now. Smile, nod. Gaslight myself into believing my fiancé wasn't slowly replacing me with the human embodiment of chaos in a crop top. He stopped making eye contact, like genuinely avoided it. We'd be talking and he'd suddenly become very interested in the floor, or the ceiling, or the existential meaning of toast. Every conversation felt like pulling teeth. Do you still want a live band? Whatever you want. Do you want chicken or fish? Anything's fine. Do you still love me? Radio silence with a side of blinking. And still, I stayed. Because I thought maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was being dramatic. Maybe I was the one losing the plot. I wasn't. But when you're ghosted in slow motion, it's easy to think you're just being paranoid. That maybe love does look like detachment and short replies. That maybe you are asking too much for wanting a little basic human connection from the man you're supposed to marry. But here's the kicker. It's not just the silence that hurts. It's the slow death of effort. The way he stopped showing up, not physically but emotionally. Like I was something he used to care about but now couldn't quite be bothered to return. Like a houseplant he once watered daily and now forgets in the corner until it turns brown and sad. So there I was, engaged, alone, watching my relationship disintegrate in real time while everyone else played dumb. And Amber, still helping. Still calling. Still smiling that smile that somehow said, I care about you and I'm slowly taking everything you love at the same time. I should have run. I should have screamed. I should have done something. But instead I stayed. And smiled. And waited for the ghosting to end. Spoiler alert, it didn't. The plot twist no one asked for. Right. So, imagine your sister sitting you down with a look of concern so intense you'd think she just caught your flat on fire and rescued your cat, barefoot. That was Amber, sitting across from me, clutching her mug like it contained secrets instead of cheap instant coffee, wearing her eye care face, you know the one. Slight frown, soft voice, eyes doing overtime. I thought she was going to tell me she had a medical condition. Or maybe that she'd joined a cult. Honestly, either of those would have made more sense. Instead, she hit me with, "I think Luke's cheating on you." Now, normal sisters, keyword normal, might back this kind of bombshell with some actual evidence. Screenshots, suspicious receipts, maybe a casual voice memo. "Amber, she brought vibes. Just vibes." "I heard him on the phone," she whispered, like MI5 was listening in. "With another girl." He sounded flirty. I didn't want to say anything, but she said something anyway. Did she have a name? No. Proof? Don't be silly. A single detail that wasn't plucked straight from a soap opera? Absolutely not. I blinked at her. Once, twice, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. Just more faux sadness and a hand placed delicately on mine like we were in a Hallmark movie, and she'd just told me I had 6 months to live. She looked so heartbroken. Oscar-worthy, really. I'm talking full tears in the eyes, voice wobble performance. Meryl Streep should have sued. And the worst part? I almost believed her. Because that's what heartbreak does. It makes you stupid. It makes you want to believe the people you love, even if they're practically holding a knife and humming while they twist it. She went on for a good 10 minutes. How she didn't want to tell me. How she loved me too much to stay silent. How she hated seeing me hurt. "Darling, you are the hurt." She even added, "I know you won't want to hear this, but you deserve better." Which is rich coming from someone who probably has my wedding date circled in her diary under Steal Fiancé. For a second, a tiny, pathetic second, I actually considered confronting Luke. As if I was the problem. As if he was out there emotionally cheating, and Amber was my hero in high heels, here to save me from heartbreak. She was not. Amber played it so well I almost gave her a standing ovation. I mean, I'd seen her fake cry to get out of speeding tickets, but this was Emmy-level manipulation. And it worked. For a little while anyway, I started second-guessing every weird moment between me and Luke. Every pause, every cold shoulder, every distracted shrug. Maybe he was cheating. Maybe Amber was the only one telling me the truth. Maybe reality had completely unraveled and I was the last person to notice. But here's the twist. She wasn't wrong about the cheating. She was just a bit confused about who he was cheating with. Spoiler alert, it wasn't some mysterious woman on the phone. It was her. Miss, you deserve better. Miss, I hate seeing you hurt. Miss, Luke's just overwhelmed, don't take it personally. The audacity. The performance. The sheer commitment to being the villain in a rom-com no one asked for. So there I was, sitting in my kitchen, crying over a relationship I hadn't fully lost yet, comforted by the very person stabbing me in the back with a manicured hand and a smug little smile hiding beneath faux concerned eyes. Honestly, Shakespeare would have applauded. It had betrayal. It had drama. It had monologues and tears and tragic irony. All that was missing was a dramatic thunderstorm and me fainting onto a chaise lounge. Instead, I just drank wine straight from the bottle and questioned all my life choices. Because apparently, my sister's idea of family bonding was trying to emotionally euthanize me before brunch. And the worst part? It worked. I actually started pulling away from Luke, which I now realize was exactly what she wanted. Break us down from the inside. Then swoop in when I inevitably fell apart. Plot twist, she forgot I don't stay broken for long. Just long enough to figure out who handed me the hammer. The breakup from hell and not even the satisfying kind. Let's set the scene. I'm standing in the kitchen, trying not to dropkick my phone through the window. Luke's just walked in with the emotional range of a paper plate and the guilt level of a raccoon caught in the bin. And I'm a woman hanging on by a thread, mascara smudged, heart heavy, suspiciously holding back the urge to lob a wine bottle at his stupidly symmetrical face. Deep breath. Calm voice. Let's confront the man, shall we? Are you cheating on me? That's what I asked him. Simple, direct. No Shakespearean monologue, no dramatic pause. Just cold, flat, heartbreak in a sentence. And Luke? Luke blinked. Not in shock, not even in denial. Just blinked. Like a man caught cheating on a maths test, not his fiancé. Then came the shrug. The kind of shrug that says, "Yeah, probably, but I'm tired, can we not?" He had the audacity to look bored, like I was inconveniencing him with my little emotional crisis. "No, it's not like that," he mumbled, rubbing the back of his neck like he was in a bad soap opera audition. Which, to be fair, he was. "Oh? So what is it like then, Luke? Enlighten me. Is this some kind of surprise polyamory plot twist, or are you just emotionally constipated?" He didn't answer. Because of course he didn't. Because men like Luke don't answer. They vanish emotionally and hope you'll be too tired to fight them on it. So I walked away, not in a dramatic slow-motion movie scene way, more like a woman who's run out of emotional energy and has half a pizza waiting in the fridge. Heart? Shattered. Ego? In pieces. Dignity? Probably hiding under the bed with the dust bunnies and leftover wine corks. And where did I end up? On Amber's couch, wrapped in a blanket of lies, holding a wine glass the size of my regret. She greeted me with open arms and crocodile tears. "Oh no, babe, I'm so sorry. I can't believe he did that to you." "Can't you though, Amber? Can't you really?" She poured me wine like she hadn't been the emotional arsonist behind the whole thing. She said things like, "Men are trash," and "You deserve better," with a straight face. She even played our playlist in the background. The one Luke and I picked for our engagement party. Subtle, no? And the thing is, I drank it all in. The wine, the sympathy, the theater of it all. Because when you're heartbroken, you cling to anything that feels warm, even if it's the emotional equivalent of a gas fire with a dodgy lighter. There was a moment, just a flicker, where I thought, maybe she really does care. Maybe I've judged her too harshly. Maybe she's hurting for me. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. She was hurting me, just very gently, with compliments and Merlot. And honestly, it wasn't even the kind of breakup where you feel free afterwards. It was the kind that leaves you hollow. Like someone opened your ribcage and forgot to put the heart back in. There was no closure, no fiery row, no satisfying "you'll regret this" monologue. Just the quiet kind of pain that hums in your chest while you pretend to sleep. I remember staring at Amber's ceiling that night while she snored like a traitor beside me on the sofa. And I thought, wow, I've officially hit rock bottom. And my sister handed me the shovel. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was just tired. So bloody tired of trusting people who treated me like a backup plan. Tired of pretending this was just bad luck and not a red flag parade I willingly walked into. But don't worry, I didn't stay broken for long. Because while Amber was busy comforting me with lies and cheap wine, I was slowly starting to stitch together the truth. And the thing about heartbreak? Once it's done cracking you open, it gives you a damn good view of who's been standing in the rubble with a smile. You'd think after your fiancé emotionally ghosted you and your sister consoled you with Pinot Noir and snake-like sympathy, life would give you a break. A moment to breathe. A second to locate your will to live. Nope. 2 months later, just 2, Amber sat me down like she was about to tell me she had 6 months to live. She looked me dead in the eye, smiled gently, and said, "I'm engaged." My brain short-circuited. I thought she was joking. I genuinely, stupidly thought she meant some new man. A dentist, maybe. Or a bloke she met on one of those dating apps that people pretend they're only using for friendship. But no, not a dentist, not a stranger. Luke. Yes, that Luke. My Luke. The man who used to say I had the best laugh. The one who said he wanted to grow old with me. The man who once forgot our anniversary but remembered Amber's birthday. Should have seen that as the red flag it was. But no, I thought it was just poor time management. I stared at her, trying to process it. "You're joking," I said, because that was the only explanation that made sense. But Amber just beamed like she'd cured cancer. "It was fate," she said. Fate. As if the universe personally shipped her and my ex-fiancé with a little bow on top. Fate apparently now works through betrayal and backstabbing. And the worst part? She acted like I should be happy for her. Like I was going to leap into her arms and say, "Oh my God, congratulations on stealing the man I was going to marry. I hope you two enjoy the same wedding venue." She gave this whole speech about how you can't help who you fall for, and how love works in mysterious ways. Love, in this case, apparently works via lying to your sister's face and dating her emotionally vacant ex before the breakup body's even cold. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, preferably a toaster. Instead, I blinked, smiled, and said, "Wow, that's bold." And she giggled, as if I'd just complimented her new haircut and not caught her red-handed committing emotional grand theft fiancé. Then she asked me, genuinely asked me, to be her maid of honor. You know, for closure, for healing, for the aesthetic of it all. Apparently, nothing says sisterhood like holding the bouquet at the wedding of your ex and the snake who shares your bloodline. I laughed. Not a real laugh. That dead inside, slightly hysterical, I might be losing my mind, but at least I still have my eyebrows kind of laugh. And I said, "Of course, Amber. After all, what's family for?" She did not, in fact, mean that. Inside, I was already planning her downfall with the precision of a Bond villain. Because if Amber thought I was just going to sit there and clap politely while she swanned around in white, marrying the human cardboard cutout formerly known as my future husband, she had another thing coming. Possibly several. I went home that night and stared at the wall for a good hour, trying to decide whether I was the problem or if the world had simply gone full circus. Spoiler, it's both. But mostly, I felt stupid for trusting them, for not seeing it coming, for thinking family meant something, for believing in monogamy for God's sake. You'd think being dumped would be the worst part of a breakup. No. The worst part is watching the man you loved playing happy families with your sister like your relationship was just the trial version before the real thing. They posted engagement photos on Instagram the next day. Captioned it, "Sometimes the right one was beside you all along." I nearly vomited in my mouth. If right one means emotionally unavailable and morally bankrupt, then yes, spot on. The comments were a sea of, "OMG goals! So happy for you two. Love always finds a way." Yes, it found a way to crawl out of the toilet and ruin my life. So here I was, single, traumatized, and deeply regretting ever introducing them. Meanwhile, Amber was out there planning a wedding with my ex-fiancé and probably using the Pinterest board I made. But don't worry, I wasn't going to cry in the corner anymore. No, I was going to clap back, quietly, elegantly, pettily. Because if Amber and Luke wanted a love story, I was going to give them a plot twist they'd never forget. The wedding invite that belonged in a bin fire. Ah, yes. The moment we've all been waiting for. The wedding invite. It arrived like a bad omen. Thick envelope, fake gold trim, and handwriting that screamed, "This costs too much and means nothing." Inside, a card so aggressively cheerful it might as well have slapped me. "We're getting married, and we'd be honored to have you as a bridesmaid." Not a guest, not a polite "don't come." No, a bridesmaid. At their wedding. Amber's logic, apparently, was that this would bring closure and heal old wounds. Which is bold, considering she caused said wounds and was now rubbing salt in them while making me wear tulle. I stared at the invite like it had personally insulted my IQ. I mean, what's next? Asking the ex to deliver the wedding toast? Maybe choreograph a little breakup-themed dance for the reception? And the dress? Oh, the dress. Vomit green. Not olive. Not sage. Not even some kind of forest nymph in spring situation. Nope. Straight up bile in chiffon form. It looked like it had been designed by someone who hated joy and color theory. Apparently it was Amber's dream shade. I said it looked like a flu symptom. She laughed. I didn't. My mom, ever the peacekeeper, said I should rise above it. "Be the bigger person," she whispered over tea. "Sure, Mom." Right after I set the whole event on fire and roast marshmallows on the ashes. But instead of screaming, crying, or moving to another continent, I did what any emotionally unstable woman with a Wi-Fi connection would do. I made a plan. You see, Amber thought asking me to be a bridesmaid would make her look generous. Gracious, mature, like she hadn't stolen my fiancé and repackaged him as her Prince Charming. But what she didn't count on was me showing up, looking stunning, unbothered, and just dangerous enough to make everyone slightly uncomfortable. I wasn't going to just wear the dress. I was going to weaponize it. And no, not in a ruin the wedding with a wine stain kind of way. We're aiming for classy sabotage, emotional warfare in stilettos. My therapist would have called it toxic. I called it finally reclaiming the narrative. Because here's the thing. If Amber wanted to parade me around like her sad little prop, the heartbroken sister turned supportive bridesmaid, I was going to play along. I was going to smile for the pictures, toast the couple, hold her train like the loyal sister I wasn't. And when the moment was right, I was going to tell the truth. Not out of revenge, not even to ruin her day, but because pretending I was okay hurt more than the betrayal ever did. Also, because Amber deserved a wedding memory that would last a lifetime. And what better way than to drop a truth bomb in front of 200 guests and a very confused vicar? Stay tuned, because the wedding is coming. And trust me, it's not the only thing that's about to go down. Okay, I'll admit it. I went full FBI. And by FBI, I mean I mentally turned into a super spy with way too much time on her hands and a bone to pick. Honestly, I don't even know how I got here. 1 minute I'm crying over my betrayal. The next I'm hacking into everything I can get my hands on because nothing screams closure like a digital deep dive. First, the texts. Oh, the texts. I started slow, just some casual scrolling through old messages from Luke. What's the worst that could happen? I thought, naively. Turns out, the worst was everything. It was like finding a treasure chest filled with the worst betrayal I'd ever imagined. All neatly organized and saved for my emotional destruction. Then I moved to the cloud. Yup, that cloud. The one everyone uses to store photos of their dog, their holiday snaps, and, apparently, their secret affair with their sister's fiancé. Because if there's one thing Luke and Amber were clearly into, it was keeping receipts. And lo and behold, there they were. Texts between them while we were still engaged. Not even subtle, just straight up, "You deserve better," she wrote to him. The kind of line you expect when someone's about to break up with someone, not when they're already screwing them behind their sister's back. And then, in case there was any confusion, she signed off with a nice little, "I think I'm falling for you," just in case I missed it the first time. Can we just pause for a second to acknowledge the sheer audacity here? The audacity to emotionally cheat, then top it off with a confession you never plan on telling the person it actually concerns? Beautiful, really. I was almost impressed, until I realized the real emotional damage was starting to sink in. And guess what? The worst part wasn't even the affair. Oh no. It was that they were both so deluded that they actually thought I'd never find out. Like, hello? Have they never heard of cloud storage or basic human decency? It was like opening a Pandora's box full of betrayal and regret. But hey, at least it came with some juicy details that were definitely worth the emotional collapse. In the middle of my digital detective work, I had a moment of clarity. This was it. The confirmation I didn't even realize I needed to finally make it all make sense. I was never going to get the closure I deserved from Luke or Amber. But I sure as hell wasn't going to let them waltz into their happily ever after without at least a little dramatic finale from me. If I couldn't have the truth from them, I was going to present it to the world. So, picture this. I'm lying in bed, wrapped in a blanket burrito of despair, hair in a state that can only be described as feral woodland creature. And suddenly, clarity. If Amber could be bold enough to steal my fiancé and then send me a bridesmaid invite in bile green, then I could be bold enough to find out when exactly the betrayal started. Because let's be honest, they didn't just fall in love over a cheeky latte after we broke up. No, this brand of treachery has a timestamp, and I was about to find it. So I did what any woman fueled by heartbreak, caffeine, and blind rage would do. I became the entire FBI, MI5, and probably a bit of Interpol rolled into one emotionally unstable package. Laptop open, Wi-Fi blazing, nails bitten, face unwashed, mood unhinged but focused. I dove into the abyss. Old texts? Dug up. Archived chats? Resurrected. Cloud backups I didn't even know existed. Suddenly the Holy Grail. I went through photos with more attention than a forensic analyst on a murder trial, zooming in on reflections, timestamps, background shadows. Like, is that Amber's handbag in the mirror while Luke and I were on a date in July? Spoiler alert, it was. Then came the chats. Oh, the chats. You know that sixth sense you get when you know someone's lying, but everyone tells you you're just being dramatic? Yeah, turns out I was being underdramatic. They'd been messaging while Luke and I were still together. And not just harmless haha type stuff. We're talking full Shakespearean betrayal, flirty emojis, late night chats, inside jokes that definitely weren't about me. Oh, and Amber's personal favorite message to him. You deserve better. Better than me, apparently. As in her. The absolute cheek. I sat there, scrolling with the face of a woman who'd just realized her entire love life had been a group project, and she was the only one who didn't know the assignment. It felt like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the car is my relationship, and the crash is orchestrated by my sister in a tiara. Every chat, every sneaky little message, every laugh emoji felt like another knife. Which is impressive, considering I was already emotionally Swiss cheesed. But here's where things got interesting. I found proof. Screenshots. Receipts. Time-stamped betrayal wrapped in pixelated smugness. Amber didn't just slide into his DMs after the breakup. She was already squatting in them while I was still picking wedding venues. And Luke? He wasn't even clever about it. One message literally said, I don't know how to end it with her without looking like the bad guy. To which Amber replied, just say you need time, I'll wait. Romantic? No. Revolting? Absolutely. I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my life had officially tipped into dark comedy territory. Here I was thinking I'd lost love. Turns out, I'd just been out-schemed by a sister with access to my Wi-Fi and no moral compass. So what did I do with all this digital evidence? Oh, sweet summer child, you think I cried into my ice cream tub and let it go? No. I started saving files, organizing screenshots, creating a little folder I very lovingly named Wedding Day Surprise. Because if Amber and Luke thought I'd walk down that aisle in that vomit green dress and clap politely while they kissed on cue, they were deeply mistaken. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. This was strategy. And the best part? They had no idea. I woke up on the morning of Amber's wedding with the serenity of a woman who had nothing left to lose, except maybe the last shred of her sanity. My phone buzzed. A message from my mom. Please behave today. Ah, yes, because I'm the problem, not the bride who slept with my fiancé. Classic. Anyway, I put on the bridesmaid dress, the one that looked like it had been designed by someone who hated both color theory and women. A stunning shade of moldy avocado, tight in all the wrong places, unflattering in every possible lighting. But I wasn't there to win best dressed. I was there to ruin lives, with receipts. You see, while Amber was busy practicing her fake tear dab in the mirror, and Luke was probably Googling how to look innocent when you're not, I had a task: deliver truth with style. And by style, I mean custom-printed envelopes, cream-colored with gold trim. Inside, a perfectly curated collection of screenshots, time-stamped messages, and a helpful timeline titled, When Your Fiancé Cheated on You with Your Sister, A Visual Journey. I had one for every guest. Yes, every single one. Mom, dad, aunties, uncles, distant cousins I hadn't seen since the family BBQ where someone set the gazebo on fire. All of them got a packet. Even the Bloody Flower Girl's mom got one. I arrived at the venue like an angel of petty vengeance. Hair done, nails sharp, smile, bright and slightly terrifying. The place was classic Pinterest vomit. Mason jars, fairy lights, that rustic barn theme that screams, "We overspent on the DJ." I started my rounds casually. Hi. Oh, so lovely to see you. Long time no see. Here's a little something before the ceremony. Tuck envelope into hand. Smile sweetly. Move along. Nobody suspected a thing. Not at first. Then the whispers started. Guests flipping through laminated evidence like it was a courtroom drama. Gasps. Side eyes. Someone's great aunt muttering, "Well, I never..." By the time the ceremony was supposed to start, The vibe had shifted from romantic celebration to Netflix betrayal documentary live edition. Luke was at the altar, sweating like a man who'd just realized his entire dating history had been printed in bulk and distributed like wedding favors. Amber? She walked down the aisle, and then saw Nan clutching an envelope like it was the Bible and hell had just been delivered in Helvetica font. She paused, smiled nervously, then her eyes locked on me. I gave her a cheerful little wave, the kind you give someone when you've just set their entire narrative on fire, and then meltdown. Amber went pale, then red, then somewhere between purple and about to scream. Luke, statue mode, frozen at the altar, probably reevaluating every life choice that led him here, starting with replying to Amber's flirty text that one Tuesday. The priest looked around like he was seconds away from calling in a spiritual emergency team. The DJ, bless him, tried to break the tension by playing Beyoncé's Crazy in Love. Big mistake. Amber shrieked at him to turn it off. He did, mid-chorus. You ever seen a wedding go from fairy tale to Greek tragedy in under 10 minutes? Because that's what this was. Theatrical. Messy. Glorious. Mom stormed over to me. What the hell did you do? I told the truth, I said, with the serenity of a woman who'd just exorcised 2 demons and still had time for cake. Amber burst into tears. Luke tried to play the victim. It wasn't like that, while holding printed proof that it was exactly like that. People started leaving. My uncle took a sandwich and whispered, well, this was worth the drive. Someone, not naming names, may have live-streamed the chaos on Instagram. Gosh, Amber and Luke are canceled? Eventually, Amber locked herself in the bathroom. Luke followed. The DJ played Single Ladies out of pure spite. And me? I sat down with a slice of overpriced cake and watched the show. Because after all that, I deserved dessert. Aftermath. Ashes, popcorn, and inner peace-ish. Spoiler alert. The happy couple didn't even make it to 2 months. Yep, 6 weeks. That's how long Amber and Luke lasted post-wedding. Honestly, I've had potted herbs live longer. Apparently, marital bliss is hard to maintain when your relationship started with lying, betrayal, and a professionally laminated scandal. Their downfall began with the honeymoon, or as I like to call it, 2 people avoiding eye contact in Bali. According to my sources, read my very talkative cousin Chloe, the trip was less romantic getaway and more mutual breakdown with cocktails. Amber realized she'd married a man who folds under pressure faster than a Primark deck chair. Luke realized he'd committed to a woman who keeps score like it's an Olympic sport, and spoiler, he was losing. The best part? They came back and tried to pretend everything was fine, posting selfies like, island vibes, you're newlyweds. Darling, no one's buying it. You looked like 2 exhausted interns forced to share a hotel room during budget cuts. Anyway, crash and burn. They separated just shy of week 7. By then, Amber was the official family scandal, and I was thriving. Traumatized, yes, but thriving. Mum, bless her emotionally constipated heart, tried to pin it on me. You didn't have to ruin the wedding, she said. No, of course not. I could have let Amber marry my ex-fiancé in peace and just clapped politely while choking on betrayal hors d'oeuvres. But alas, I chose violence and printed proof. I told Mom, if you're looking for someone to blame, have a seat, right next to consequences and bad decisions. She didn't laugh. I did, out loud, at Christmas dinner, which, by the way, was tense enough to curdle the gravy. Amber refused to come. Luke had already been removed from the group chat, by Nan, iconically. Dad just drank whiskey and stared into the fireplace like he regretted every life choice post-1983. Meanwhile, I passed around the potatoes and told the full story to Aunt June, who said, and I quote, "You should write a book, love." So here we are. If not a book, then a very dramatic Reddit-style YouTube story, delivered by a narrator who's equal parts emotionally unraveled and unreasonably funny. Now life post-chaos? Honestly, it's good. I moved cities. Got a new job. Bought myself a ridiculously expensive coffee machine. You know, something to fill the gaping void where trust used to be. Started therapy. Also started dating again, cautiously. I ask way more questions now. Like, have you ever dated my sister? Do you believe in emotional monogamy? Would you like to see my laminated trauma timeline?